We actually want to go into this first paper, Entrepreneurial Exploits in Agricultural Value Chain. But before we go into this, agric is a practical thing. I want us to just do a little exercise, knowing fully well that being elderly people, we've been sitting down for hours. Let's just sit down, get up, walk around, just share pleasantries with people around you, 2-3 minutes, and then we come back to our seats and take off. Just stretch your legs, a form of exercise that is needed. We've been sitting for hours now. It's a good thing to exercise our bodies. Thank you very much. Can we just be seated while we take off? Let's get seated, please. The paper is actually Entrepreneurial Exploits in Agricultural Value Chain. Going by this paper, we want to look at those keynote words in this content. Please, let's get seated while we take off. Thank you very much for sitting down, please. And God bless you. When we talk about entrepreneur, we are actually looking at an individual who has actually identified the need in his immediate environment. And is somebody that actually created products and services to meet these needs for common good. And of course, as a business owner, I'm sure you will all agree with me that we take a lot of risks and then initiatives attempting to make good profit from this business. If you are not actually aiming at making good business, then probably you are doing it as a philanthropist. But that is not the essence here. An entrepreneur should aim at making good profit. Exploit. Just from the theme of this convention, when we talk about exploit, we are actually talking about an act that is notable. When you are in business and you are doing your business that makes you to be notable and remarkable, you are actually doing exploits. So we are looking at entrepreneurs that are ready to make good marks in their businesses and then be distinguished. We are looking at entrepreneurs that will want to decide they want to be first among equals, which means you stand out amongst others in this business. And looking at this presentation, Entrepreneurial Exploits in Agricultural Value Chain, there's a need to really understand what agricultural value chain means. This is actually identified as a set of actors and the corresponding activities that bring about a basic agricultural product from production in the field to final consumption stage where at each stage, value is added to the product. This is actually involving people at every stage of life. I mean the life cycle of such a crop, such an agricultural crop in this case. For instance, we can have our maize. And if you look at even the value chain involved in maize, you might be looking at it from the point of the input that you are purchasing. When you go out there to make a purchase of the seed, viable seed, you don't want to just plant any kind of seed that is not viable. Going out there even to plant, using your farm implements, whatever size of farming you are into, you will surely need these farming implements. And at the same time, when you have done your farming, you want to maintain the crop as they grow using your chemicals. Even from production in the field to now getting to the point of harvesting. And when you are harvesting, you also need certain equipment to enhance adequate harvesting and bountiful one. Reducing waste during your harvest. At the same time, your harvested crops you want to market. You also want to process. You want to package and then distribute before it gets to the end user. When we talk about entrepreneurial exploits in the agricultural value chain, this dates back into even the Bible days. Men like Abraham, recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 13, verse 2, where it was recorded that he actually was a great entrepreneur and he made exploits even in this field of agriculture. He was so rich in sheep, so rich in goats, so rich in cattle, and in silver and gold. This is to tell us that Father Abraham actually made entrepreneurial exploits, even in this agricultural value chain. In the book of Genesis 26, verse 12, again, Isaac was recorded to be another man that made great exploits as an entrepreneur in agricultural value chain. He sowed in the land and harvested so much, having added value to his harvested corn and wheat. We were made to also understand that he threshed, he milled. All this is farm produce. This is to just let us know that he never left them as they were harvested raw. He added value to them. So he was exceedingly rich, also in sheep, cattle, and he had so many workers. That's someone that had actually made exploits in the agricultural value chain, as recorded in the Bible. In George 6, verse 19, just to mention but a few, Gideon also was recorded to have processed meat, roasting the meat, not just the raw meat this time around. And he went further, enhancing the quality of his wheat by milling them into flour and baking using the same processed flour to make bread. Another very great man that made greater exploit in the Bible, Ruth chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. That's the man called Boaz. In fact, this man was recorded to be very successful and outstanding with many hectares of farmland, and his success was not just in large produce, but in the value addition that he made, processing them to preserve and changing their forms into other products. In the book of Exodus, where God talked about the land flowing with milk and honey, milk, I'm sure you all know, couldn't have been drawn from wells. Milk came even from rearing viable cattle, dairy cattle. And of course, he went further, even from the yield of the milk, homogenizing them, pasteurizing them, making them into plain milk, or even further process them into yogurt, cheese, and other dairy products. When we talk about agricultural value chain, this could be likened to a journey that is started from a point and moving to a final destination. I'm just using this analogy so that we all can actually key into what we are talking about this morning. A journey started from a point and moving to a final destination, just like I planned to travel probably from Lagos to Kano. And I'm sure you know there will be so many stopovers, probably at different parks. And at these various parks, what you will notice is you have various park managers. And at these various park managers, people get down, carry out, at these various park, vehicle parks, people come down, carry out various activities. They exchange money. They exchange goods. And they go back, some stopping there, others entering the vehicle to now continue the journey until they get to the destination, Kano in this case. What am I trying to say? Agricultural value chain identify the set of actors and activities that bring a basic agricultural product from production in the field to the final consumption, where at each stage, value is added to the product. In other sense, it could be the people and activities that bring a basic agricultural product. Like when we are looking at maize, like I mentioned, the maize, you have your inputs, and then it goes through the production in the field until it gets to the consumer. Your maize definitely comes from someone who actually deals in probably selling the agricultural seeds. And then when you buy, you go into planting using some farm implements, which I'm sure you had gotten from someone again who is involved in such an activity of selling the farming implements, your cutlass, your hoe, even as big as your farming might be, your tractors. And of course, passing through all the stages until it gets to even the consumer, through stages such as even processing your maize, and then packaging them and distributing them in all these other forms that you have turned them to through the value that you have added onto them. I want to say that looking at even food scarcity in the world today, this has actually been compounded by the constant increase of population explosion without noticeable complementing increase in the output of our agricultural produce. There is an imbalance between this. Increase in population and death not actually complementing the increase in the output of our agricultural produce. This gap is what you and me feel today as we key into the agricultural value chain. This has actually become a major focus of our governments to provide enough food for the citizenry, which in turn will curb series of social menaces that could emerge or from hunger crisis. This creates an enabling atmosphere for strategic economic development by providing the working population with the most vital physiological needs. Now, let me say this. In modern agri, one of its objectives is to actually reduce to the barest minimum problems related to agricultural loss, wastages, output underutilization. And how do we do this in the modern day agriculture? It is simply by ensuring an efficient optimization of all these linkages. These are the chains between the producer and the final consumer through this our value chain concept. When we collaborate and then strategically partner with each business in agri interdependently to actually progressively create value for the final consumer, resulting in what we notice to be collective competitive advantage, then we are operating in the agricultural value chain. Basically, one of the characteristics of value chain is market-focused collaboration. If you are involved at all, then what you are aiming at is actually to be able to market and make your profit in any of those chains. Different business enterprises work together to produce and market products and services effectively and efficiently. Therefore, allowing businesses to respond to marketplace through all this linking, production, processing, marketing, in order to meet the market demands. I have here a typical example which we can actually look at. For instance, if you have a crop and you are talking about the agricultural value chain concerning that particular crop, then you are looking at the primary inputs. And when you talk about the primary inputs, you are looking at the farmland. Someone out there is waiting for you to come acquire land from him. So you may decide to even now bring together hectares of land that you have organized legitimately from the owners, and then stand in to be a link between those that will want to farm and then those landowners, just for farming purpose. And you have the greenhouse, those that produce probably their plants at the nursery stage, and then they get them ready for those that will just want to come, not going for the seeds now, but the nursery stages, and then take them and take to their own farmland to plant. You have those that are actually into the chemicals, like the seed fertilizer outlets. You have those that are actually waiting for you to come in for the equipment, which you can also be in. And then you are involved in these primary inputs of the agricultural value chain. The second phase will be the phase of production and processing. And of course, you have those that are always there waiting to process your own farm produce. They buy off from you. They buy off from you, off-takers, we call them. And then they sell, even to those that are waiting there, even to get this farm produce processed into other forms of products. You have the food packaging, you have the poultry, you have the dairy, the seafood, you have even all others involved in this production and processing. The third stage could be those that are actually in the transportation and then the infrastructure. Transportation, then the distribution. They are also there. You can just warehouse products from all this other value chain and then be there either to distribute, either to be an outlet to others that will just take these products to their final destination. When we look at agri value chain, sincerely speaking, in Nigeria of today, it has not been a premium at all in its performance. Why do I say this? A typical farmer still produces the seed he needs for his planting. He grows and harvests the crops on his field. He processes the harvested crops. He is the same person that markets the processed produce and even to the final consumer. And what do you call this? Jack of all trades, master of none. And this is the essence of this teaching. You can actually now key into this value chain and get a business for yourself. You don't have to do it all alone. In agricultural value chain, the producers, processors, marketers, and researchers focus each on its enterprise, as one's output is another person's input. You can see this. Where you stop is where another person is stepping in to begin his own business. So your own activity ends to now start the activity of other people in the agricultural value chain. So it continues like that, and this ensures quality delivery of resources to the next link without encroaching into other production areas. You will also notice, even in Nigeria, attention is mostly focused on primary production, huge crop turnover, huge harvest, large flock management, enormous plantation. So it's not only you that is doing that same business of jack of all trades. Even Nigeria, as we are, that is what we focus on. We are noted to be the world's largest cocoa producer, the third largest producer of sorghum, the largest producer of yam and cassava, and the largest cultivator of the monumental groundnut pyramids. But sincerely speaking, the big question is, despite all the seemingly agricultural feats, why is our agricultural industry not regarded as developed today? It is simply because we are losing focus on what could be the agricultural value chain. An example of this is the cocoa beans, which for so many years we still export unprocessed. And they have been transformed into various products such as beverages, chocolate bars, chocolate candies, to mention but a few. But these in turn are imported back into Nigeria. The same cocoa bean that we produce and we claim to be the largest producer. They are now processed and then we now import them back into Nigeria and sold to us at very increased prices. Losing foreign exchange, and then paying so much, even for what we produce here in large quantity. So economic gains will accrue to a nation if only there are policies that will guide against exporting raw crops, produce, and this will strengthen the value addition process and encourage investment in processing. Agricultural value chain will surely reduce poverty, and smallholder farmers will move definitely from their subsistence into commercial agricultural production. I have someone here that will deal with the agricultural value chain in the fishing industry. So I won't want to go into this. But today, in agricultural value chain in Nigeria, it has been observed that value addition chain, which is part of this agricultural value chain, value addition is the most attractive, well advertised, and most viable and reliable chain. Why did I say this? It is a major chain that grows the economy. When you have your maize and you add value to it by processing that maize, you can transform that singular crop, maize, into not less than 4-5 different products that are having more value than selling your raw maize, just in tons like that. That is why I said value addition chain in this wise is a major chain that grows the economy of our nation. And this, of course, is the area where you can see industrialization from the grassroots. Because a farmer that is now, enlightened about what he could do to his farm produce at the grassroots level in order to add value and then increase economic power, we surely want to do what? We want to process instead of selling off his farm produce at the raw level. So, agricultural value chain has actually changed the face of agriculture in Nigeria to what we now know as agribusiness. Because when you talk about agribusiness, even though there are other chains in the agri value chain, but processing as a value-added chain is a very vital one. And let me just run through this in conclusion. When we actually talk about adding value, then you are talking about processing your agricultural produce into other forms. All the activities involved in transformation of agricultural raw produce to varieties of good quality products are actually to improve our economic strength. That is the basic function, the basic objective of value addition to your agricultural raw material. And I'm very sure that we all know again that value addition is an activity that actually, having transformed this your raw agricultural product into something new, it brings about high returns even from your investment, and it allows you to open new markets even for your new products, instead of having to complain that there is glut in a particular area of the agri value chain that you are involved in. You can easily sit down and decide, let me add value to this my produce. Even though there is glut, what is the next thing to think of? Let me process. And this gives you the ability of now having other forms of products from the same main product that you think is having glut in the market. And it allows you to start small, and then you begin now to grow naturally. Someone that has probably maize, and you discover that he's not having anywhere to sell his maize, can decide to now think of processing this maize. And of course, into so many other products. Your maize can give you Masavita. Your maize can give you maize grit. Your maize can give you something that you can turn into glucose. Your maize can be turned into so many other products that have been derived even from this maize. It enhances better quality and the product over the raw materials, because in this wise, you are not thinking of probably how to preserve. Because during your processing, you must have taken care of certain things that could reduce the shelf life of the raw material itself, and then giving you the chance to now have a longer shelf life of the other products that come even from that raw material. The new product has a longer shelf life, yes, and of course, it helps you to now increase your economic power. We have on the manual for this presentation a lot of agricultural raw materials like the oil palm fruits, the cocoa, the jatropha seed, your maize, your soya, granite, tomato, cassava, rice, and the poultry. Even if you are into goatry, fisheries, even your waste recycling, your nylon, the plantain, the citrus plant, sugarcane, just to mention a few that we have listed here. A lot of processing methods, unit operations that could be carried out on them, and then the resultant products that could come from them for you now to embark on as a business. As we proceed, even in this teaching, I pray that the Lord God Almighty will make each and every one of us entrepreneurial exploits in the mighty name of Jesus.